Hello friends, this is Deepak Gupta signing in on this platform of CollegeDekho.com, and we will be carry forwarding our financial management topic capital budgeting part 2. In the first part we discussed about the calculation of the cash flows. So we have discussed earlier that we study capital budgeting in two parts. First part is the estimation of the cash flows, which we discussed that they can either be the initial cash outflow, then we have the periodic or subsequent cash inflows, and then we have the terminal cash inflows. And the second part is the techniques where we compare these inflows with the outflow. So, again, coming on to this topic, capital budgeting, as we discussed in the last session, that capital budgeting is primarily one of the most important topic and decision in every business. Why? Because it deals with the long-term investment decision. And why long-term investment decision is crucial? Because it is about the choice of the business opportunity that a person is going to make. What I'm saying that you are making a strategic decision which will giving you the profits for a longer horizon of not just 1 year, for maybe the life of the project. So what you are doing that you are trying to put up a huge investment which you expect will give you returns over a number of years, and those number of years will be more than 1 year and can extend up to 20 or 30 or 40 years depending upon the project. So this investment decision can be regarding a purchase of a machinery where you believe that the machine will have a life of 5 years and the output of the machine will give you profits. Or it can be like the construction of a highway, a tall highway, where we believe that the highway will have a life of say 30 years. So the company who is entering into such PPP model with the government plans to invest some 1,000 crores in a highway, which we expect will last for around 30 years subject to maintenance, and they will generate the toll, and the toll subject to the maintenance expenditure will give them the profits over a horizon of 30 years, and they believe this horizon of 30 years when discounted to their present value will be more than the initial cost, and they will be generating huge profits. So what the crucial point of this capital budgeting is that it can be regarding the purchase of a machinery where the horizon of investment is say a few years, and it can be such a crucial decision where the horizon is so long. So there has to be two crucial aspects of this, that we are presuming that whatever are the inflows which we expect to come in the future are assumed to be correct more or less. That I'm saying that they may not be 100% correct, but they are quite or less close to the 100% correction. That is, there is no major variation in their accuracy. Because if there is so much difference in the accuracy, then the whole decision can go wrong. And secondly, because we are investing now and expecting futures in the profit, so all those future benefits or profits or the inflows have to be discounted. So we have to take care of the time value of money, and the discounted present value of inflows will be, yeah, shall be more than the present value of the outflows. And if that is the case, then you are looking at a figure of profit which makes the investment profitable and attractive for investors. See? So we are at the moment not concerned about the period. We are just putting the word N, which denotes the life of the project, which is expressed in years. So the flow can be the cash flow year 1 to say Lakers cash flow up to year N. So CF1, CF2 and so on till N. And the initial cash flows has to be CF0. So we presume that CF0 is outflow shown as in bracket to just denote that they are the outflow. and CF1 plus CF2 subject to CFN, that is the summation of all cash flows from the period 1 to n. It denotes total inflows and they subject to discounting, that is they have to be discounted to arrive at the figure of profits. So in the first session, we were able to understand how these cash flows, whether it is CF0 or CF1234, they are to be calculated. And in this session, we will discuss about the techniques, that is how they are compared. So when we write this word techniques, so these techniques of capital budgeting, these techniques of capital budgeting, they primarily, these techniques of capital budgeting, they primarily refers to the comparison of inflows, that is how we compare the inflows with outflows. That is the main focus of those techniques. And originally, traditionally, we ignored the time value of the money. So we use the word traditional or non-discounting methods. But they were faulty. They didn't give the accurate advice about the investment decision, and hence we moved on to the modern or discounted, yeah, discounting methods, where the time value of money has to be considered using in keeping in mind the formula that the present value shall be equal to future value multiplied by the present value factor, and each present value factor will have a specific value depending upon the cost of capital and the year. So we will use this formula, and this present value factor is actually equal to 1 upon 1 plus k power n. So depending upon what is the value of n and what is the value of k, for that respective k and n, we will calculate the value of PV of kn. Therefore, we can also write that present value is equal to future value upon 1 plus k power n. So it's your choice the way you want to use it. By this formula, you can use it, you can do it through calculator, and by this formula, you can use it, you can use it through table. You can use it through table. Okay. So when we use this word traditional and modern, what the point is, just hold for a moment. The battery is going down for my speakers. I just have to put them on charge. Just a moment. So now if I carry on, so we will have two methods, traditional and modern methods. The traditional methods are of two kinds, or we should say there are two traditional methods. One, we use the word payback method. Payback. Payback method, where or what they are we'll discuss later on. And the another is known as accounting or average rate of return. Accounting or average rate of return. So we write PV and we write ARR. And the discounting or the modern methods, there are three kind of modern methods. One is known as the net present value, commonly known as NPV. Second one is known as profitability index, known as PI. And third is known as internal rate of return, commonly known as IRR. Commonly known as IRR. So please, we will surely understand why and how, but just to move on, this net present value is the most preferred method. It is the most preferred method, or I should say technique, to decide, because other techniques are either flawed or they have some limitations, because of which whatever the ultimate, or I should say, sometimes when you make a choice between the product, or you decide whether the project is to be accepted or not, they all will point in the same direction, that either it should be accepted or it should not be accepted. But sometimes it may happen that there is a contradiction. One method can say it is acceptable, another method can say it is non-acceptable. In that case, if there is any contradiction between the methods, or sometimes it can happen that you are having two choices and both looks profitable, and we are with the dilemma that which one to choose for, because we have to go with only one option, and we call such decisions as mutually exclusive decisions. So in such case, when we have mutually exclusive decisions and both looks profitable, but we have to look for the better one, the more profitable one, then we ultimately have to rely on the decision of the NPV. So why NPV is preferred and why all other four are not uh, taken importance over NPV, we will discuss it when we discuss the techniques one by one. But I have told you in the beginning, because before we move on, we should understand that net present value is the preferred choice. Why and how, that you will understand. So, first technique that is to be understood is the payback method. So, the name itself suggests the payback method. So, whenever a person makes an investment, obviously he wants to earn the profit. But his first priority before earning profit is that at least he should not earn a loss. लॉस ना हो, प्रॉफिट तो ठीक है हो जाए, लेकिन ये ना हो कि प्रॉफिट के चक्कर में लॉस हो जाए. So because what we are expecting, that initial investment will be followed by the returns, which will be smaller in quantity as per the investment, but they will be more in the number of times. मतलब इनकी अमाउंट इन्वेस्टमेंट के मुकाबले बहुत कम होगी, लेकिन इनकी जो क्वांटिटी ऑफ नंबर्स है वो इसके मुकाबले बहुत ज़्यादा होगी. So their quantity will overall take over the investment and give you profits. But before this total becomes more than the investment, there will be a point when the inflows become equal to the outflows. The revenues become equal to the cost. So that period when there is break even, when there is break even, that is inflows are equal to the outflows, or inflows are able to cover the cost of the project, outflow of the project, that period is known as a payback period. That period is known as payback period. And this technique presumes that if payback period is less than the life of the project, then it means there is always a profit. And because there is always a profit, the proposal should be accepted. Secondly, if there are two projects and we have a choice between project A and B, and both are having payback period less than the life, then the lower payback is preferred. So I should say the lower payback period is preferred. So we presume that lower payback is presumed to give higher profits. ये मान के चल रहे हैं कि भाई जितना ज़्यादा प्रॉफिट आपको चाहिए वो तभी पॉसिबल है जब आपका पेबैक पीरियड कम से कम हो जाए. दो इट मे नॉट होल्ड ट्रू, दो इट मे नॉट होल्ड ट्रू, देयर कैन बी सर्कमस्टांसेस कि ये पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाएगा. वो हम आपसे जब डिटेल में आप ज्वाइन करेंगे हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म collegedekho.com को, तब एग्जाम्पल के साथ में डिस्कस करेंगे कि ऐसा कब नहीं हो पाएगा. बट वन थिंग इज फॉर श्योर दैट एक तो इस टेक्निक के अंदर डिस्काउंटिंग नहीं है, दूसरा इस टेक्निक के अंदर एब्सोल्यूट प्रॉफिट का मेजर नहीं है. ठीक है, कोई मेजर नहीं है. और तीसरा, इट दिस अजम्पशन मे नॉट होल्ड ट्रू. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दीज limitations, the payback method is only a supplement technique to NPV. It may support the claim of the NPV, it may support the design of the NPV, but it cannot override the net present value technique. So if I take for example here कि इनिशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट से $50,000 की है और जो इनफ्लोज हैं, नाउ दीज इनफ्लोज कैन आइदर बी इक्वल और अनइक्वल. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई से दैट n is 5 years and the investment is 15,000 per annum. So when the investments provide returns equally, we use the word annuity. We use the word annuity. Or it can happen that there is an investment of $50,000, but in the first year you get 15,000, in the second year you get 10,000, in the third year you get 25,000, in the fourth year you get 10,000, in the fifth year you get 5,000. It can happen. So these are known as non-annuity flows. These are known as non-annuity flows. What you call them? Non-annuity flows. So, what you call them? The non-annuity flows. So, when we calculate the payback period here, when we calculate so when we calculate the payback period in this case, so how to calculate that? In the first year, out of the requirement of 15,000, you get 15,000, 35,000 remains. In the second year, out of the remaining balance of 35,000, you get 15,000 again, and your balance is 20,000. In the third year, out of the remaining balance of 20,000, you receive further 15,000, and the only balance left is 5,000. Now, in the fourth year, you're getting 15,000, and you require only 5,000. So it means your payback period is more than 3 years but less than 4 years, because the if we presume average inflow, then 15 year has come for the whole period of 1 year. Therefore, this payback period has to be 3 year plus 5,000 upon 15,000, presuming कि अगर पूरे साल में 15,000 आए हैं तो 5,000 कितने पीरियड में आएंगे. Therefore, by the unitary method, this payback period will come out to be 3.333 years. 3.333 years. So, instead of writing like this, we can also write that payback period is equal to cash flow initial divided by yearly inflows. Yearly inflows. Yearly cash inflows, जिन्हें हम लोगों ने क्या नाम दिया था? CFN. तो ये सारे के सारे इक्वल हैं। तो अगर आप CFO को, यानी कि अगर मैं इसको ऐसे भी निकालना चाहता कि CFO 50,000 को अगर मैं 15,000 से डिवाइड करूंगा, then it could have been 3.333 years. So we can use payback, or we can calculate payback period by using this formula. We know the word average method, or we can use it through this formula which we use the cumulative method. But when we come here, then we will have to follow this because this is not possible. So in the first year 50,000 may say 15,000 I you receive, the balance is only 35. In the next year 35 में से 10 दोबारा आ गए, balance is 25,000. और in the third year 25,000 पूरा आ गया, the balance is nil. So in this case payback period is, sorry, 3 years. So if you compare the project this and project this, project A and project B, so as per the payback period, you will prefer project B. But if you see closely, then project A is more profitable. That is, I was discussing that it is one of the loopholes of the payback period because you are making a wrong choice. On the basis of payback period, you are making a wrong choice because payback considers only initial period inflows. इनिशियल पीरियड किसी प्रोजेक्ट के अगर इनिशियली इनफ्लो ज़्यादा है तो उसका पेबैक कम हो जाता है, और पेबैक कम होने से प्रपोजल एक्सेप्ट हो जाता है। तो बाद के जो इनफ्लोज हैं अगर वो कम भी हैं, स्टिल यू कैन मेक अ लॉन्ग चॉइस। सो वर सेइंग वी वर करेक्टली सेइंग दैट पेबैक इज नॉट अ ट्रू मेजर of the profitability of the project. So we can also say कि we can also have a third formula कि ये जो आपके unequal, यानी that is the non-annuity, these non-annuity inflows, we can always calculate average yearly, we can always calculate average yearly inflows. And these average yearly inflows, how they can be calculated? That is 15,000 plus 10,000 plus 25,000 plus 10,000 plus 5,000 divided by 5. So this comes out to be 13,000. So by using that formula, we can also say that payback period will be equal to initial outflow upon average periodic inflows. So here it will be 50,000 upon 13,000, and that will be coming out to be approximately, that will be 3.85 years. So you will see here that these two figures, they don't match. With the same data, we have two different payback period. That is the another loophole, that we can have different payback periods as per different methods. So because of these loopholes, we don't prefer the payback method. And one of the most important loophole is that it is a non-discounting technique. It is a non-discounting technique. Is that okay? It is a non-discounting technique. Similarly, when we talk about similarly similarly when we talk about, just a moment, there is some issue with the Bluetooth. I think there is some issue with the Bluetooth, so I will have to stop this session here only. Just a moment. Yeah, yeah. It is good that we are live again because the issue has been sorted with the Bluetooth. Now, the second non-discounting technique is the ARR. that is the accounting or rate of return average rate of return. Now, before I move into this formula, we have to understand that in the last session, when we calculated the periodic inflows, then it was a sequence. How we calculated कि हमने सेल्स में से सारे के सारे एक्सपेंडिचर माइनस किए थे जो हमारे कैश के एक्सपेंडिचर से, देन हमारे पास क्या आया था, प्रॉफिट बिफोर डेप्रिसिएशन एंड टैक्सेस। हमने यहाँ से डेप्शन माइनस किया था तो हमारे पास क्या आया था, प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्सेस। फिर हमने टैक्सेस माइनस किए थे तो हमारे पास क्या आया था, प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्सेस। फिर हमने डेप्रिसिएशन वापस ऐड बैक किया था तो हमारे पास क्या आया था, CFAT, कैश फ्लो आफ्टर टैक्सेस। तो जो हम यहाँ ऊपर पेबैक टेक्निक फॉलो कर रहे हैं, या मैं दोबारा यहाँ पर समराइज कर देता हूँ। दो बातें नोटिस करने की है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, कि ये जो टेक्निक है ARR, जो टेक्निक है NPV, जो टेक्निक है PI, जो टेक्निक है IRR, चारों टेक्निक्स में जितना ज़्यादा है उतना बेटर है। दैट इज हायर इज बेटर। और सिर्फ पेबैक ऐसी टेक्निक है जो इनसे उल्टी चलती है, जहां पर आपने देखा कि लोअर इज बेटर, लोअर इज बेटर। जो सेकंड सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज नोट करने वाली है, जो मैंने अभी आपको डाटा बताया, कि इसको मैं इसलिए अलग कलर से शो कर रहा हूँ, कि चाहे पेबैक हो, चाहे NPV हो, चाहे प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इंडेक्स हो, और चाहे IRR हो, इन चारों में ये जो पीरियोडिक इनफ्लोज हैं, वहां पर हम लोग CFAT की फिगर लेते हैं। किसकी? CFAT की। लेकिन सिर्फ अकाउंटिंग रेट ऑफ रिटर्न में हम लोग CFAT की फिगर नहीं लेते, हम लोग PAT की फिगर लेते हैं। तो ये जो है ये PAT बेस्ड है और ये सारे के सारे CFAT बेस्ड है। तो प्लीज इन दो टेक्निक्स में इस डिफरेंस को भी आप प्लीज नोट करके चलें, बिकॉज दैट इज वेरी क्रूशियल इन योर पेपर। सो यहाँ मैं आपको क्लियरली लिख रहा हूँ कि दिस इज अ PAT बेस्ड टेक्निक, and these PATs, because they will be for a number of years, N1 N2 N3, normally the sales, yearly sales can be different, expenditures can be different, and if they are not, they are presumed to be same, then depends on the depreciation कि depreciation straight line method है कि WDV method है। तो in normal questions what is happening, that we have similar PBDT figures, but due to different depreciation figures because of the method, reducing balance method, we have different PATs. And if we have similar depreciation due to straight line method, then we may have same PAT. So if the PAT is same, then we can use the word annual PAT here. And if the PAT is different, then we can use the word average PAT. दैट इज जितने भी साल का PAT है उन सबको जोड़ के उनके नंबर से डिवाइड करके वी कैन कैलकुलेट द एवरेज PAT. So this average PAT or annual PAT has to be divided by the average investment. What is average investment? So to calculate the average investment, we have a simple formula which you can use. This average investment has to be that as the cost of asset is the initial investment, you add the installation cost here because that is the total cost of the asset, and then you deduct the scrap value of the asset from it, which denotes the net cost of asset, and you make the half of it, and the half net cost of the asset we add the scrap value again. So this figure is what you call the average investment. So we calculate, ये मैं हटा रहा हूँ क्योंकि ये हमने यहाँ डिस्कस कर लिया है। तो ये जो फिगर आएगी that will be known as ARR, that is accounting rate of return. So अगर सिंगल प्रोजेक्ट है तो ये जो ARR है, अगर वो क्वेश्चन में दिए गए K से, K क्या है, कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल, तो अगर वो क्वेश्चन में दिए हुए कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल से ज्यादा है then the proposal should be accepted. And if there are two projects and they are being compared, then higher ARR is better. यानी कि दो प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, दोनों का ARR आ रहा है, तो अगर वो कंपलसरी है दोनों प्रोजेक्ट्स, हमें प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी जज नहीं करनी, दोनों में से एक को चूज करने ही करना है, तो हायर ARR इज बेटर। और अगर दो में से एक की चॉइस है तो भी हायर ARR इज बेटर। तो हायर ARR इज ऑलवेज बेटर, ये मैंने ऊपर ही बताया आपको कि सिर्फ पेबैक में लोअर इज बेटर है, और बाकी सब केसेस में जितना हायर है उतना बेटर। सो विद दिस we are finishing up this session, and when we will start with the third session on this capital budgeting, then we will do the discounting techniques. ठीक. So on this note, this is Deepak Gupta signing off from this platform collegedekho.com, and I hope that you join on our platform for a regular live interactive session along with our notes. Thank you very much.